All right, I'm back. We're about to go into the Colorado conspiracy. There's so much conspiracy just about Colorado, and the fact that I live there kind of picked up on a lot of the different conspiracies there. I think the first conspiracy is the Denver airport itself. It's got all these weird murals. I had some pictures myself, but I don't have that camera anymore. But you can kind of see the theme of the pictures. They're kind of go in order. There's this one with looks like some military guy doing some Grim Reaper type of stuff. Bunch of old people and sad children, right? Then you got this one where it looks like a freaking nuclear bomb went off with Native Americans and freaking buffaloes and who knows? It's Native Americans, black people, white people, Asian people, right? A German kid in a coffin, right? What's up with that, right? Then there's it looks like a black woman in a coffin, right? This is at the airport. What's this doing at the airport? Oh, that's even worse copy. And then you got this one where it's oh, we will triumph over all war, right? And they got country flags in there. United States, Britain. I don't know which one that is. It looks like Brazil or Jamaica. No, I don't know. Might be an African country. I mean, that one's a Muslim country. You can tell because it's got the sun and the moon thing. And then you got the Jewish one over here too. And then they triumph over the military guy, right? With the sword. There's another picture of that Jaguar one. But it looks like they changed them up or something. Because this looks different. It looks different now. But these are the old ones, though. So that's pretty much the first conspiracy where you're what is that? Especially this one. I mean, this one's crazy. And then it's it's obviously they're trying to tell a story there, right? So then the second thing at the airport, still at the airport, it's this statue, the Blue Mustang statue, also known as Blucifer. Come on. And it really does have the glowing eye. It's huge. It's huge. It's at least 4 stories high or whatever. And then the funny thing is, or I guess not really funny, but it's notable for its striking appearance and for having killed its sculptor. Why do they put that in the same sentence? It's notable for its striking appearance and for having killed it. You'd think that would at least get a second sentence. So you can see it's a 32-foot Mustang called Blucifer. Demon Mustang or Satan's Stallion, right? Come on. Then the guy was killed in 2006 at age 65 in New Mexico. Damn, man. That's kind of messed up. So let's see. Locals have taken to calling it Blucifer. I mean, I don't see how you can not. I mean, I guess it's just a Bronco, like Denver Broncos, right? But it's blue, though. It's blue. Oh, wait. Yeah, I forgot. What about there's a Masonic thing? Yeah, this is at the Denver airport, right? Does every airport just have one of these? The time capsule beneath this stone contains messages and memorabilia to the people of Colorado in 2094. Most worshipful Grand Lodge, accepted, and Freemasons. And then this is like new, are they just joking? It was like New World Order Airport Commission contributor. Come on, bro. How do they, what? Oh, Prince Hall Lodge is in this too. Damn, they got everybody in it. So obviously the governor and the Secretary of Transportation are Freemasons or were Freemasons, right? And the mayor. Like Colorado's like serious Mason state, right? So then you can see downtown. It was hard to find like a good picture of this, but you can see right here. It says Masonic Building, and this is like the post office in downtown Denver. Has a square and compass with a G in the middle, and it's called the Masonic Building, right? Okay. 16th Street Mall, Denver. It's like right in the middle of downtown. Okay. So then we can look at the Denver Capitol Masonic Lodge, right? This is the Scottish Rite. So that's where the 33rd degree Masons go. See, got right here. I don't think that's the one on that building, but that's the symbol for the 32nd, 33rd degree Masons, right? And you can only go up to the 33rd degree in the Scottish Rite. So this is a red lodge. Even though it has a blue sign, it's a red lodge because it's Scottish Rite. And then you can see here that the Scottish Rite Freemason Temple is like directly across the street from the state capitol. And supposedly there's rumors that there's a tunnel underneath. But obviously it's very close to the state capitol. I mean, I've been here hanging out. My friend used to live like way down here. Like maybe like 10, 20 blocks down. Somewhere around there. And yeah, so this was like the Masonic Lodge. We would just like walk around here. My friend was like spying on him or some shit. He'd be like, oh, look, the Masons are getting out. One time we saw them getting out and they were wearing all those like weird suits and shit. We were just walking around here. But yeah, and this thing's got like a gold dome on it, on the top of it, the state capitol. See, it's got like a gold dome, just like the pyramid, cap of the pyramid. Right. So you'd be like, oh, well, why is all this stuff in Colorado? Well, the thing is that Colorado is actually like the secondary, or you could even say it's like the military capital of the United States because of its strategic position, like in the mountains and in the center of the country, where it's like very hard for someone to attack it, not like Pearl Harbor, where it's like out in the middle of the ocean. I mean, the East Coast is probably pretty protected too, but that's just because they have missile batteries and stuff. So we can see the place that's in Stargate, Cheyenne Mountain Complex. It's a real place, and it's really in Colorado, right? And it really does house the United States Space Force, right? But I'm Looney Tunes, right? Is a binational, highly classified, $142.4 million facility hosting Canada and the United States in North America, commanded by United States Space Force, right? And this is the place in Stargate, in the Stargate show, Stargate SG-1. This is where they hang out, right? This is where the Stargate is, right? Where the Space Marines that are getting ready to go into space and training to go into space in real life are at the same place that Stargate takes place at. The Space Force, right? The complex serves as collective security and deterrent to response to a nuclear attack by any party, by both outside and within NATO. right? North American Aerospace Defense Command and United States Northern Command main headquarters, right? Pikes Peak National Forest, that's like a super high mountain. See, it's a integrated, secure military nuclear bunker used for crew training and as a backup command center when deemed necessary. And supposedly, like, that's where my friend's mom worked. She worked for like NORAD. She had like super high, like level clearance. I think like level 5 clearance. And she worked on like satellites or something. So you can see. My uncle told me about that one time. Not like my real uncle, but like one of my cousin uncles. And he was like, yeah, man, they had us work on this base and they took us down there because he was just like a engineer. He was like, yeah, we were building it and painting it up and we didn't even know where we were. We were just underground in some underground base. And I was like, yeah, I believe that, man. Just the way he said it, it seemed like it was real. So you can see that there's some serious Masonic stuff going on in Colorado, right? Like serious and seriously weird stuff, right? Involving military guys and then the like ending of military guys and uniting of all world cultures together, right? And then you've got the actual Stargate place in the Stargate show that's also housing the real life Space Marines with the with the Star Trek logo, right? With the Star Trek logo. Let's just check out Space Force a little bit. Yeah, remember Reagan, Star Wars, the Star Wars Initiative proposal for US Space Force were first seriously considered during the Reagan administration as part of the Strategic Defense Initiative. Congress began exploring establishing a Space Corps or Space Force in the late 1990s and early 2000s. The idea of establishing a Space Force was revived in the late 2010s in response to Russian and Chinese military space developments, resulting in the Space Force's establishment on the 20th of December 2019 during the first Trump administration. But did he really do anything? Like I said, like what did he do? It was already there. The mountain was already there. Space Force was already there training. I mean, this is what they're thinking about, right? It's like Space Marines. In the aftermath of World War II, the Air Force started examining the potentials and risks of space. General Henry H. Arnold, commander of the Army Air Forces, tasked General Bernard Shriver to identify and develop technologies with the scientific community that could be beneficial for the new U.S. Air Force in the next global conflict. Identifying the importance of space, the U.S. Army, U.S. Navy, and U.S. Air Force each started their own separate space and rocket programs. The U.S. Air Force created the first military space organization in the world, establishing the Western Development Division in 1954 and placing it under the command of General Shriver. The Army followed a year later, creating the Army Ballistic Missile Agency under the leadership of General John Bruce Medries and Werner von Braun, the guy from Project Paperclip. So that's what this has all been about the whole time. It's just getting into space so that they can do a space war, right? Because the nuclear war thing is like a stalemate, right? They can't do a nuclear war because then we all die, right? So they had to figure out a way where they can do a war, and these people are getting annoyed with these proxy wars because they keep on picking on these countries that can barely defend themselves, and it just looks bad. And they're just trying to, upgrade their military technology through testing, battle testing. So this is the best way for them to do it. Let them go up into space and blow each other up until they figure out who's the toughest or whatever. I mean, if they blow up the moon, that might suck, though, a little bit. See, they're already doing war in space. Look, in November 1986, the CIA reported a successful satellite destruction simulation performed by the Soviet Union as part of the Istrebitelj-Sputnikov anti-satellite weapons research program. Possibly as a response to the Soviet program, the United States had earlier began Project Saint, which was intended to provide anti-satellite capability to be used in the case of war with the Soviet Union. However, the project was canceled early on due to budget constraints, and after details were leaked to the New York Times in 1962. Despite these setbacks, the Air Force did successfully field the program 437 anti-satellite weapon, which used nuclear Thor missiles, right? So then, when's this? They established the Air Force Space Command in 1982. Remember Star Wars? That was what Reagan was talking about. Oh, we're going to do Star Wars, bro. Yeah. And people thought they were joking, right? I mean, look at the logo is the Star Trek logo. You see what I'm saying? It's like they get you primed for this stuff. That's why I'm just wondering what Stargate's going to be about, right? See, the idea of a separate service for space originated in 1960. Military space activities were briefly consolidated under the Advanced Research Project Agency, which is now known as the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency, also known as DARPA, right? In 1958, loosely centralizing space activities under a single organization. The Air Force, Army, and Navy feared that it would evolve into a fourth service for space before authorities were returned to the service. So see, they're already starting this in the 60s. They were thinking about this in the 60s. And then by the 80s, they pretty much had the beginning of it ready. And then when Trump came in, he's putting in like the final touches for this phase. Like, this is why they don't care about like what's going on. Like, this is why we have to like fix our own problems. Like, they don't care. They're worried about this. This is what they're worried about. They're not worried that much about what we're doing, which is kind of a good thing, but it's also a bad thing if you're expecting them to help you. Because they're way too busy doing this. They are way too busy doing this. I mean, look at it. They've been doing this since the 60s at least, right? Like, serious. This guy's serious. He's like, we're doing this forever. Right? And then people are like, yo, I need some food stamps or whatever. And look, I'm not saying that people don't need food stamps, but what I'm saying is they're worried about this. This is what they're really worried about, right? Getting this done. Look at that. Look, they're the Star Trek cats, right? This is the Space Force right here. The first 86 Space Force lieutenants commissioned from the United States Air Force Academy. Look at them. That's basically your Star Trek people right there. This is the beginning of Star Trek, right? See, the service gained its first new second lieutenants when 86 members of the U.S. Air Force Academy class of 2020 became Space Force members 3 through 88 on April 18th, 2020. Currently serving Air Force space operators began to become Space Force members in September 2020, and the service gained its first astronaut when Colonel Michael S. Hopkins swore into the Space Force aboard the International Space Station, right? So they already have Space Force members in space. Confirmed. Space Force also began to build out its culture and identity. However, it experienced several public relations challenges due to its perceived ties to science fiction and links to President Trump. Well, I mean, how could it have it's not perceived. I mean, it's not a perceived link when the actual Cheyenne Mountain is a real place and they have it in Stargate. Notice they don't mention Stargate in this like part right here where they're saying that people are like, oh, it's kind of like Star Wars, Battlestar Galactica, Starfleet, Star Trek, but it's actually Stargate though. It actually is Stargate. Like if you watch Stargate and then you just take the aliens out of it and just actually imagine that they're actually talking about real life things that are actually happening on Earth, then it actually all makes complete sense, right? Like the system lords are just the Chinese and the Japanese and the Russians, right? And the Europeans, like the European royalty. Those are the system lords that they're talking about, right? And how they had to make deals. It's like basically like a retelling of post World War II period, right? And they got to make deals with the old system lords that ran the old system, like we're reading it in Quigley right now, right? They had to make deals with the Japanese oligarchs. They had to make deals with the Chinese oligarchs. They had to make deals with the Indian oligarchs. They had to make deals with the European oligarchs, with the Russian oligarchs, right? Then they're freeing the slaves everywhere, right? They're going all over the universe freeing slaves, right? And they don't mention Stargate in here, right? Right? Space Force's SEAL and Delta insignia were also incorrectly derided as a ripoff of Star Trek's. I mean, how do you not? How do you not see that? Yeah. They put it in you see what I'm saying? They put it in Star Trek. Despite being first adopted as a space symbol by the Air Force Ballistics Missile Division in 1962, 4 years before Star Trek first aired. And they think that that makes it better. No, it's because Star Trek was there when they decided in 1960 to do this, that they were going to put it in the media, get you slowly used to it, but people just don't like the idea. Especially, it seems like Christians definitely don't like the idea of like space, like that. Like, oh, we're just gonna go into space. They're like, what? Right? See, they got all these cyber commands in every country. See, so it's like Joint Chiefs of Staff. Who is that? Let's see. Oh, yeah, this is the other Colorado conspiracy that you can actually find gold in Colorado. Yeah, you can find gold in Colorado. Okay. But, oh, yeah. Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Okay. Oh, so this guy is the highest ranking military. Oh, no, let me click on the article. Wikipedia. Okay. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff is the presiding officer of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. The chairman is the highest ranking and most senior military officer in the United States Armed Forces, and the principal military advisor to the president, the National Security Council, the Homeland Security Council, and the Secretary of the Defense. While the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff outranks all other commissioned officers, the chairman is prohibited by law from having operational command authority over the armed forces. However, the chairman assists the president and the Secretary of Defense in exercising their command functions. So, what does that mean? He doesn't have operational command authority? Okay. The National Command Authority is a term that was formerly used by the Department of Defense of the United States to refer to the ultimate source of lawful military orders. It was first alluded to in 1960 Department of Defense document. It included at least the President of the United States as Commander-in-Chief and the Secretary of Defense. The term has no statutory or constitutional basis and was replaced in 2002 in favor of explicitly referring to the President and or Secretary of Defense. The term also refers to communications with the commanding officers of the Unified Combatants Command to put U.S. forces into action. Only the president can direct the use of nuclear weapons by the armed forces through plans such as O-Plan. The president has unilateral authority as commander-in-chief to order that nuclear weapons be used for any reason at any time. Damn. He's got his finger on the button. Nah, but for real. So basically, this guy, even though he's the highest ranking military officer, he can't actually give any direct commands. Kind of makes sense because then he could command the entire military to do something. Makes sense. Makes sense. So he advises the president. So who's actually in charge of the Space Force, right? The Joint Chiefs. Okay. So who are the Joint Chiefs? Okay. The Joint Chiefs of Staff is a body of the most senior uniformed leaders within the United States Department of Defense, which advises the President of the United States, the Secretary of Defense, the Homeland Security Council, and the National Security Council on military matters. The composition of the Joint Chiefs of Staff is defined by statute and consists of chairman, vice chairman, the chiefs of the Army, Marine Corps, Navy, Air Force, and Space Force, and the chief of the National Guard Bureau. Each of the individual service chiefs outside their joint chief obligations works directly under the secretaries of their respective military departments. Oh, so these guys don't have operational command authority either. Following the Goldwater-Nichols Act of 1986, the Joint Chiefs of Staff do not have operational command authority, either individually or collectively, as the chain of command goes from the President to the Secretary of Defense and from the Secretary to the regional combatant commanders. Okay. But is the Secretary of Defense in charge of the Space Force, though? Oh, the Secretary of Defense is above. Okay. Okay, so who is the Secretary of Defense? Oh, Pete Hegseth. Okay. Honorable Pete Hegseth is the Secretary of War. He was sworn in on January 25th, 2025 as the 29th Secretary of Defense before the department's name was changed on September 5th, 2025. A graduate of Princeton University in 2003, Hegseth was commissioned as an infantry officer in the U.S. Army National Guard. He participated in a number of active duty deployments during his time in service, including operations in Guantanamo Bay, Iraq, and Afghanistan. Okay, so this guy, Pete Hegseth, he's in charge of the Space Force. What, does he have command authority? Okay. The United States Secretary of Defense, SecDef, secondarily titled the Secretary of War, SecWar, is the head of the United States Department of Defense, the executive department of the U.S. Armed Forces, and is a high-ranking member of the Cabinet of the United States. The Secretary of Defense's position of command and authority over the military is second only to that of the President of the United States, who is the Commander-in-Chief. This position corresponds to what is generally known as a defense minister in many other countries. The President appoints the Secretary of Defense with the advice and consent of the Senate and is by custom a member of the Cabinet and by law a member of the National Security Council. Subject only to the orders of the President, the Secretary of Defense is in the chain of command and exercises command and control for both operational and administrative purposes over the Department of Defense administered service branches, Army, Marine Corps, Navy, Air Force, and Space Force, as well as the Coast Guard. When its command and control is transferred to the Department of Defense. Okay. To ensure civilian control of the military, U.S. law provides that the Secretary of Defense cannot have served as an active duty commissioned officer in the military in the preceding 7 years except for generals and admirals who cannot have served on active duty within the previous 10 years. Congress can legislatively waive this restriction and has done so 3 times. George C. Marshall Jr., James N. Mattis, and Lloyd J. Austin III. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff is the principal military advisor to the Secretary of Defense and the President. While the chairman may assist the Secretary and the President in their command functions, the chairman is not in the chain of command. Because the Secretary of Defense is vested with legal powers that exceed those of any commissioned officer and is second only to the President in the military hierarchy, its incumbent has sometimes unofficially been referred to as the Deputy Commander-in-Chief. The Secretary of State, the Secretary of the Treasury, the Secretary of Defense, and the Attorney General are generally regarded as the 4 most important and are officially the 4 most senior and oldest cabinet officials because of the size and importance of their respective departments. The current Secretary of Defense is Pete Hegseth, who was nominated by President Trump and was confirmed by the Senate on January 20th, 25th, 2025. Okay. So basically, Pete Hegseth is the highest officer in the military that can actually give commands. He takes his commands directly from the president. Okay. Makes sense. All makes sense. Oh, we're not going to look at all of them. Maybe real quick. Oh, there's McNamara. Not going to say anything. Dick Cheney. Rumsfeld. Okay. Pete Hegseth. So, yeah. We can see that there's a real Space Force. There's Cheyenne Mountain, right? Wait, hold up. I'll just show you that it's in Stargate, too. See, this episode of Stargate. Right? Oh, but it's all fake, though, bro. It's all fake. You're insane. You're insane. It's all fake. You just made it up. You just made it up. It's all fake. It's all fake, man. Come on. It's all fake. What's fake? The show or the fact that it's really there? Is it really there? Is that fake? Or is it fake that they're actually hosting the space people, the Space Force, the Space Marines? Which part's fake? The Space Marines part? Is that fake? No. Is it the fact that it's in Colorado Springs? Is that the fake part? No. Is it the fact that they created the Star Wars logo? I mean, the Star Trek logo, and then Star Trek put it in their show after the military created it? No, that's not fake. Which part's fake? I'm trying to figure out which part is fake. Yeah. See, and then they try to play you out. Right? They're like, no, there's nothing in there. It's just a janitor's closet. Yeah. Uh-huh. See, they're not playing around. They're not playing around, man. Oh, is this Stargate or is this in real life? I can't. It's like, Stargate or real life? Is this the real one or is this the Stargate one? I can't put my finger on it. Oh wait, this is the real one here, right? Or is this the Stargate one? Wait, or is this the Stargate? They both look the same. It looks like the one from Stargate is the actual one. Right? But don't forget, man, don't forget about the Masons. Because they like run Colorado, right? Whatever. All right. We got it. That's it for the video. Thanks for checking it out. I might be back later. Who knows? Talk to you then. Peace.